dream last night. You were standing in a brilliant light. 1 minute here, but the next you were gone. I thought you could stay, but I was so wrong. The end is here, the game is over. No more pretending, no more, no more. The end is here, the end is here, the end is here, the end is here. The end is here.
Howdy everyone, it's Sam here. I hope you're all doing really well. If you're new around these parts, I hope I can get you to consider liking and subscribing to the channel. If you are a regular, thank you so much for the continuous support. Look, there's so much to get through. Let's just get this one out of the way right now. Week 1 of finals football starts on Friday night from the Sunshine Coast Stadium in the game of the round. Melbourne Storm host the Manly Sea Eagles. Once again, this rivalry reignites in September, the first time since 2012. Finals history between these two ardent rivals reads Melbourne Storm 3 victories, Manly Sea Eagles just the 1 victory. This is their 5th meeting in semi-final footy, and it is their 40th meeting overall. For the Manly Sea Eagles team list news, there's only one change. Josh Aloiai comes in for Tofafoa Sipley. And just as a quick side note, Josh Aloiai offloaded that horrendous ball in their previous encounter this year. As soon as they got momentum, he offloaded it, it went awry, and Melbourne Storm just grappled the momentum back. So Josh Aloiai, just maybe keep the offload in your back pocket this weekend. For the Melbourne Storm team list news, Josh Adokar is not going to be playing due to a hamstring injury. In for him is Isaac Lumi, and Cameron Munster has been named to play at 5/8. He's still a 50-50 shot though. If he does play, it will be his 150th NRL appearance, so kudos to him on a insane career so far. Melbourne Storm are 9 from 9 at the Sunshine Coast Stadium. Manly Sea Eagles are 1 from 2 at the Sunshine Coast Stadium. Their 1 victory coming against Parramatta Eels a few weeks ago now. So the last time these two clubs met, I spoke about Josh Aloiai's era. Manly Sea Eagles only completed at 67%. It's probably their worst performance. It wasn't a bad performance by any stretch, but it was lesser to the performances that we have become used to. In my opinion, for Manly Sea Eagles to win this victory, yes, you've got to shut down all their superstars, but the main key to victory for me personally is you've got to shut down Brandon Smith and Harry Grant, the hookers. They dart out a dummy half more, in my opinion, than any other club in the competition. and that's how they get their momentum going. So if they can stop Brandon Smith and Harry Grant, it's going to go a long way. For the Melbourne Storm, the key to victory, in my opinion, for them is to shut down Daly Cherry Evans' kicking game. Now, Daly Cherry Evans had a bit of an ordinary game last time these two clubs met. He is second for most kicks, longest kick meters in the NRL throughout the regular season anyway. And Melbourne Storm, they fell on the back foot as far as their kicking game goes last time these two clubs met. This is going to be such a fascinating contest. I am going to be tipping Manly Sea Eagles to win this one, 1-12. Yeah, Josh Adokar, he does play in the wing. He is a big loss. Is that enough to tip the scales in the favour? Well, here's the thing too, right? The Manly Sea Eagles winger Jason Saab is up in the top 5 for making errors. Now, it would have been Josh Adokar versus Jason Saab. And now, whilst Isaac Lumi comes in, and he's a tall bugger himself, I think Jason Saab will, I think he'll feel a little bit more confident about going into this weekend. So expect Jason Saab to score a try. Manly Sea Eagles to win 1-12. I think Melbourne Storm are just, I don't want to say shaky, it's maybe too strong of a word, but they are not unbeatable. And the form that they showed against the Cowboys last week in the final 15 minutes, holy moly. But watch this space, Manly Sea Eagles to win 1-12 Friday night. A doubleheader is emanating from Townsville's Queensland Country Bank Stadium, and game number 1 is the elimination final. Sydney Roosters host the Gold Coast Titans. This is the first ever encounter between these two clubs in September, and the overall record does lean towards the Sydney Roosters, 13-8. Team list news for the Sydney Roosters: Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, Victor Radley, they are back in the side. The bench reads Sam Walker and Isaac Liu, Butcher and Baker. The halves for the Sydney Roosters to start the game will be Lachlan Lamb and Drew Hutchinson, who has been in really good touch over the past month or more. In team news for the Gold Coast Titans, Kevin Proctor returns in at jersey number 11, and that pushes Sam McIntyre out of the squad completely, in a jersey 18, I should say. And David Fifita will be starting off the bench in jersey number 16, and Beau Firma, who I have such a really good rap on, he'll be starting the game. And look, I want to say something about David Fifita right now. This is a point that I really want to make. David Fifita, coming off the bench last week in a do-or-die clash, he came off the bench, played 57 minutes, and made 10 hit-ups for 76 meters. The bloke is in doubt, but he'll have to cop a pain-killing injecting shot this weekend just so he can play due to a rib problem. Now, remember that. So the other bench forward last weekend in a do-or-die clash, Jamin Jolliffe, he came off the bench, played 32 minutes, and he made 13 hit-ups for 144 meters. Post-contact meters were 43. David Fifita's post-contact meters were 25. Now, he may have been playing injured last week. I get that he scored a couple of tries very fortuitously. The bloke can be a game changer. He's getting paid $1 million a year. I get that he's still very young. But those numbers, as soon as he came on, those numbers are not good enough from David Fifita. If they are to be any chance this weekend, yes, everyone needs to do their job, and he needs to get better ball from their halves. David Fifita, I know you're going to be playing injured, mate, but you need to have an up and go. You've got to have some Milo before kickoff this weekend. The last time these two clubs met, it ended up being one of the games of the year. They nearly made the greatest comeback of all time, the Gold Coast. They went down 35 points to 34. The Sydney Roosters are the worst handling side in the competition. They make more errors than any other club in the NRL. So the Titans need to not worry about defense as such. They need to run the Roosters off the paddock, who, look, their tanks might be full, but that engine for the Sydney Roosters is running ever so hot. And look, ultimately, you shut down James Tedesco, you're going to go a hell of a long way to winning this game. But in saying that, Roosters do have some enforcers back. Crichton came back as well last week after a few weeks out due to suspension. Roosters' class and effort cannot be denied. It's just been unreal what they've been able to do this year. And their defense will be better. I know that they weren't up to task really against the Titans last time these two clubs played. But I said a few weeks ago on Nick from Australia's channel, if I were the Roosters, I probably would have preferred to take on the Cronulla Sharks. I think the Titans, for me, they always seem to rise whenever they take on the Sydney Roosters. And being this is semi-final football, first ever encounter between these two clubs in September, I expect the Titans to rise. I think this can be an amazing game of footy. There is a smell of an upset, but I'm not going to take it. As I've said all year, I am going to go for the tried and true formula, and I'm going to back the Sydney Roosters 1-12 in what should be, hopefully be, an amazing game of footy. And game number 2 from the doubleheader up at QCB Stadium is the second qualifying final. The Penrith Panthers host the South Sydney Rabbitohs. For me, honestly, I'll get this out of the way. This match holds least interest for me. I think I have the most confidence in my tip this weekend. So for team list news for the Penrith Panthers, both Brian To'o and Stephen Crichton play their 50th first grade match this weekend. And just on Stephen Crichton, he's been named to play out on the wing, and he's been great at fullback. I think he's a better centre. So I hope he can go searching for the ball. I think he will, and I hope he can be given great ball, and why not? I mean, it's Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai. This is the second ever meeting between these two clubs in September. Their previous encounter only came last year, where Penrith beat South Sydney to get into the grand final. And there is only one other change, or there's only one change for the Penrith Panthers, and that's Scott Sorensen, who broke a bone in his arm, you poor bugger. He was really starting to find his groove. Spencer Lenu is going to be coming in for Scott Sorensen. Now for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Blake Taaffe will indeed be the fullback. Alex Johnson does return, and he'll play on the wing. And there's a plethora of other returns. Cody Walker, Adam Reynolds, you name it, they're back in. Damien Cook. Kola or Matangi, after serving 2 weeks out, he will start in the second row. South Sydney are a real head scratcher this year. I feel like I just hopped on the bandwagon, and then Latrell Mitchell caved in Joseph Manu's face, and now I'm completely off. And I'm looking back at the train station thinking I shouldn't have hopped on the bandwagon train. So for me, Penrith Panthers, I hate to say it, South Sydney, but I think you're going to lose by 13 plus. Not something over the top, but I think it'll be a comfortable victory for Penrith Panthers up there in Townsville. And I mean, they did beat South Sydney by a margin as well last time these two clubs met, or both times these clubs have met throughout season 2021. The last game of the weekend is coming to us from Brown Park in Rockhampton. Parramatta Eels host the Newcastle Knights in the second elimination final. There is semi-final football history between Parramatta and Newcastle. Newcastle hold that ledger 2-1, and these guys have not faced each other since the 2001 grand final, where the Knights did upset the Eels. Parramatta, they have everybody coming back in. Regan Campbell-Gillard comes back after weeks and weeks out with injury. Junior Paulo comes back in. Mitch Moses is in. And in other team news for Parramatta, Tom Opacek has been named not to play. He will not be playing. Hayes Dunster and the very exciting prospect of Will Penasini is going to be one combination on the back line, and Wanga Blake and Blake Ferguson is going to be the other combination. After starring with some really brutal hits as well last week, Ray Stone finds himself as the starting number 9 for Parramatta, and Joey Lussick, I don't know if it's a case of dropping or if he's been injured, but he is not going to be playing. And Will Smith retains a spot in the side in a jersey number 14. And the bench looks like the following: Will Smith, Bryce Cartwright, Isaiah Papali'i is coming off the bench. I don't think that's happened too many times this season. And Makatoa, the 28-year-old, 4-game deep, or 3-game deep Makatoa has jersey number 17 on his back. Team lists are going, they are subject to change. Ryan Madison, his suspension is over, but he has been named with jersey 18 on his back. So there's a slight possibility that Makatoa and Madison will swap places as well. And for team list news for the Newcastle Knights, big ins for them. The Saifiti brothers, more in particular, Daniel Saifiti returns and they start. And David Clemmer, who looked like he copped a bit of a rib injury himself last week, he'll be coming off the bench as well. Jaden Brayley is back in at hooker, and so is Tyson Frizzell and Mitch Barnett. And I think if Frizzell and Barnett can get up, and they should, it's semi-final footy, I think they can bring just a bit of mongrel. They can bring a bit of explosive defence that Newcastle Knights are desperately lacking at the moment. And Chris Randall, who is a backup dummy half, he broke his thumb last week and he's out for the season. And when you look at Newcastle's bench as well, there is no real backup hooking option for Jaden Brayley. Now, I'm sure that he can pump out 80 minutes, but there's no other hooking option besides Connor Watson, who is named lock. Yeah, I'm just not feeling it for the Newcastle Knights, but in saying that, it is still a good looking team list. It's just they just haven't hit that gear where it's like, yep, I can see it now. Earlier in the season, they were crisp. They were really good in the start of the year, but Newcastle have sort of just smoothly gone downhill for me. And Parramatta, they've sort of done the same thing as well, but I'm going to put my money, I'm going to put my trust into the Parramatta Eels to beat the Newcastle Knights this weekend, 1-12 in Brown Park from Rockhampton. Ladies and gents, that's it for me this weekend. Thank you so much for the continuous support. I hope you all enjoy the finals footy this weekend. I know I will, and you can expect to see me tomorrow night on NRL Spectacular's channel and Nick from Australia's channel tomorrow night. And there is another video coming from me this weekend as well. That is the NFL. The NFL starts this weekend, so massive weekend of sport ahead. Looking forward to it. Again, thank you so much. I hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you again. Take care.